These are my laundry tanks. You know, the kind your grandma had in the basement. The washing machine would drain into one, and then the other one was for hand washing. I've lugged these around from house to house to house. So here they sit. We don't move them at all, and this gives me the idea of planting up kale in here already. There's Swiss chard. I have that planted in several areas throughout the yard where it can die off and then come back every year because it reseeds itself. I've got some onions. I had some extra onion seeds, so I threw them in here, so I'll just let them be. But I thought kale will also reseed itself and come back every year, so I'm going to go ahead and plant kale intermixed in here with Swiss chard. I didn't know if I was going to like kale. I planted it for the first time like 2 years ago. Last year I replanted some and it came back, and then when I was going through my seeds, I discovered I had this old kale. It's a Russian kale, Russian hunger. Put it in the ground at 55 degrees from adaptive. So I got a couple other different kinds of kale from Territorial Seed. Actually, looks like this is an old one, 2021, and this is 2023. So it looks like I got one new one for this year. Interesting, same picture, right? But this is the Wild Garden Kales, Russian Siberian. We have some cold weather here, so hopefully that'll survive winter. And this dazzling blue. So I'm going to plant it in here and then a couple other places throughout the yard. Here's my kale corner. My Swiss chard corner in the big garden, and I am going to plant some kale in here amongst this just so it can also grow and reseed and I can harvest it. I have so much Swiss chard that I can actually grow it for 3 months out of the year and harvest it and eat it, so that's pretty awesome. So I am going to grow it here, but I want to show you something else. This is a side garden on the side of the pump house, and there's my big garden, and there's the chard corner. And this is a kale I planted last year and harvested off of it, and now it's coming back. It's a biannual. Kale is a biannual, which means it takes 2 years to make seeds. And look at that. We're getting flowers, and it's going to seed. So, mwahaha, everything is growing according to plan. So I will go ahead and harvest the seeds from that. Greens are one of the outliers in seed production, meaning that you can still eat the leaves whilst it's producing seeds. Some things like beets, carrots, cauliflower, broccoli, things like that, the vegetable gets really weird. It gets woody and hard, and you just don't want to eat it. So this is going to be good to eat while this is going. And I'm just going to go ahead and leave it here as well. And look at that stalk, man. That's got to be 1.5 inches. This one's only about 1/2 inch, but you can see it's getting woody and hard. Looks like we've got some slugs out here too. So I am going to plant it up in places where I can leave it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm also noticing a bunch of hornets going up into the roof up here. Little shits. You see right there. Those little maniacs are making houses again. Alright, so at dusk we'll come out and spray them and run for our lives. Alright, I'm going to go plant some kale. Alright, so we've got the kale all planted up in here, and I'm going to go around and plant it in those other areas that we looked at. I also have my trusty clipboard and my crappy hand-drawn map, but I would suggest you guys do this yourselves, and that is just to draw some drawings and mark down when you planted something. So like 4/22 is today, and what you planted where, in a manner that you can read it. Nobody else really needs to be able to read that. So on 4/22 I planted the Russian kale here, Lasianto in these two, and then a Russian kale called Hunger there, which is supposed to mimic these little containers here. And that way I know the date that I planted them, and how long it takes to germinate, so I can, you know, keep an eye on the seeds. And when it starts to grow, I can look at the differences between the two, or three actually. I planted 3 different kinds, and see which one I like best, or if I like them all equally. I won't save seeds from these because they're so close together. They're definitely going to cross, and I think they may even cross with the chard, which would be really interesting. So anyway, maybe that would be interesting to try. Kale and some of the other greens will cross-pollinate with things like broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower, anything in the brassica family. So when it comes to flower for seed, you do want to make sure it's pretty far away from those other vegetables if you're saving seed. If you're not saving seed, just don't worry about it. But if you weren't saving seed, why would you let your plants flower? Anyway, so there you have it. Make sure to get your drawing skills out, write that stuff down, and with the greens, at least, if you can find a place where they can just grow and flower and drop their seed, you'll have an ever-growing area to have your greens. So there you have it. Let me know if you have any questions.